I love that song.
Yeah, me too. Oh yeah, we're now on.
Hey, everybody.
Hey everybody. John, can you quickly play that baseline song?
The baseline
I'd like
song?
to welcome
Sure.
everyone with the baseline song.
1,
Yeah,
2, 3.
let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Baseline Show India. We're live from New Delhi, and we do this every Saturday at 6 p.m. It's the official Baseline office hours, where we talk about synchronizing everything using Baseline, and we have some very amazing people today joining the call on Zoom. And I see tons of people have joined on YouTube as well, and there are more people who are joining. I got many pings asking for the link. So awesome. So thank you so much for making it. I am Samrat Kishor. I am part of the technical steering committee of Baseline Protocol, and I'm also the head for India. I lead the team with Biswashree Day here in India. So she's a technocrat. She's running her own company as well as building some fantastic stuff for Baseline Protocol. Over to you, John and Jack. Quickly introduce yourself and let's go.
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm John Wolpert. I'm the technical steering chair of the Baseline Protocol. And also I work for Consensus, Joe Lubin, and also was one of the founders of Hyperledger, although I'm feeling much better now.
Awesome. So people who are watching us on YouTube, you know whom to hit when you have to reach the Consensus Mesh team for funding. There are tons of people, John, who are going to hit you, to you and of course Joe. Yeah.
I've got like $5-6 to give away.
Now we're on to Jack.
Hey everyone.
Okay.
Samrat, thanks for certainly having me.
Did you say 5-6 Bitcoin?
No, bucks. Old money.
Okay. I heard the B word. Anyway, yeah, Jack, sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. Samrat, pleasure to be here. This is Jack Leahy. I lead sales and growth at Provide. Provide is a organization that has been spearheading within the Baseline Protocol community. Certainly that's the topic of conversation today. And so really happy to be here.
Awesome. That's a pretty modest introduction from Jack. Provide is probably the coolest company to watch out for in the Baseline ecosystem right now. So everybody who's watching us today, tomorrow, whenever on YouTube, hit up Jack and the rest of the Provide team. They have done some super cool stuff, some of which we will be discussing today later in the show. We have Luis Suarez. We have Rajiv Bhargav. So Rajiv Bhargav is from the most premier B school in India. Thanks so much, Rajiv sir, for making it at such short notice. We just spoke yesterday about participation, and we will initiate official communication, of course. But today was just about introduction and getting to know each other well.
Yeah, thank you, Samrat.
So thanks a lot for making it.
Yeah, thank you so much, and it is a pleasure to be attending such a high-tech event, and I will learn a lot for sure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And we also have Saurabh Singh with us. Of course, he's joined us in his personal capacity. He's a very accomplished blockchain developer. He also works with one of the biggest telecom companies in India. So we are in talks about engaging with them and getting them on board. So Saurabh, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, hello everyone. So yeah, it's like few weeks back, Samrat sir has connected me about, and he told me about this baseline protocol. After that, I visited the page, the main page on the internet, and searched about this very great, the great concept about the protocol. And this is going to be a revolutionary, and it's going to be a very cost cutting protocol, or like a way to uh, in a very efficient way. It's going to be for the big industries, the petroleum or telecom sector, all kind of sector, I could say
Yeah.
that thing. So yeah, it's going to be a
Yeah.
game changer in a while. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me, sir.
Yeah.
It's a great pleasure, being here.
Awesome. Awesome. And I just see Mohan as well joined. Hey Mohan, thank you so much. I see you're in a car, but thanks for making it. And I'm going to invite Viswashi towards the end, where she's, yeah. I'm going to invite Viswashi to let people know.
Hey, Samrat, I know that, I think for bandwidth reasons, it's a lot of folks keep their videos off, but for some reason, I think the settings are only showing those folks who have live video. I think there's like 8 people on. I think YouTube's only seeing 3 of us.
Yeah.
So just fair warning. I think there might be a setting that could be changed live, but if not, something to know for future.
Yeah, I'm actually checking. I think it's a Zoom setting.
It is.
But yeah, that's a good idea. People
I had that problem
need it,
early,
so-
long ago, and I finally fixed it, I don't know, last year sometime.
Okay.
Hey, Sarah, while you're while Samrat's looking into that, Andreas Freund, who's one of the principal folks who've been writing the standard, is really into the telecom space, pretty well known in it, and is working on a number of standards in telecom. And you might want to reach out to him on the Slack. Samrat, you mind if I make my, and if you don't know where the Slack is, go to baseline-protocol.org and you can see the Slack inviter there.
Yeah. So already I've joined the
people
community.
who are
over
watching
Slack.
us on YouTube, please. Awesome. Thanks, Saurabh. If you're watching us on YouTube, do subscribe to the channel. We keep making announcements related to Baseline on the channel. So do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Moving on, John, we have a good quorum today. We also have some new participants, and I would like to invite you to sort of introduce Baseline Protocol to all of us once again. You did that in the maiden show. But now we have more interest, and Rajiv comes from the academia, so and we already have Duke University with us, right? So yes. I would, if we can talk about baseline in principle, and then maybe something about what's in there for academia.
Well, I think hi Rajiv, it's great to see you, and I should say my alma mater, my B school alma mater. Has recently sent us an intern who's doing a wonderful job here at Consensus on her job right now, and I find this pretty fascinating. She's done a lot of interviews with some really notable executives. Her job for the whole summer is simply this: find out what goes wrong that causes you not to get paid as a company, B2B, so complex commerce, right? So you've got a 30, 60, 90-day invoice, net terms, and you get paid late, you get paid wrong, or you don't get paid at all. Why? And she's asking everybody that she can find that one question because, and this kind of leads into the point about baseline, if you can reduce the inconsistency between my record keeping system and your record keeping system, and the probability that goes down. But what are all the reasons? And one of them she found was very interesting, and it's one I'm sure many of us have been living with for decades. Is my payment system or my sales people raise the price by $1, say, from $10 to $11, and the customers maybe using Salesforce, and they make the change from $10 to $11, but then the change does not get pushed to the ERP system that's running their payables system, and they pay me $10, not 11. And maybe I never fix that. Like maybe I'm just too scared of losing that customer. I've lost that $1 difference until we, get on them with humans and spend a lot of time. So those are the kinds of screw ups that happen between companies. And I think more than anything else, baseline is about multi-party workflow integration, or rather verified multi-party workflow integration, right? So I can be confident that what I know is the same as what you know. And even though that story I just told has an internal integration component to it, you can imagine that if we have a always on global tamper resistant way of running an integration bus without having to set one up de novo every time we have a new counterparty to deal with, we start to use that also for internals, right? We say, let me just jack into the base ledger, right, or into the baseline, system, and now like that, I have that integration point without putting any data on anything else. So that's really important to bring up, is that the baseline protocol is all about keeping your data in the system of record that you probably are already using, say SAP, Dynamics, NetSuite. So this is a protocol that doesn't try to get you off of traditional systems of record. Leave your data. So data for databases, proofs for blockchains. That's what the baseline protocol is all about. Is basically a standard for how you use a blockchain, preferably a public one, as a proof repository that allows you to subscribe to those proofs and say, yep, you and I have the same information. Nobody looking at that blockchain would know anything about us. They're just looking at a bunch of nonsense. But you and I can point to that and say, yep, we are in a state of consistency, or, oh, no, we're not. Something's gone wrong. We can go fix that. That's about it. And I think there's a lot of money to be made in that. It changes the TCO of system integration significantly from, big capital expenditures to OpEx. And it just becomes easier to do multi-party system integration, which has been really hard for a lot of years. So this is, anybody that knows how to baseline is going to be making a lot of money. In fact, we're already seeing companies like Provide taking business from, of really big companies from their traditional service providers, just because they know how to baseline.
Yeah. And we are going to be talking about that huge company in a bit, right? Thanks so much, John. That's very exciting. And we've been having these sessions, and this is just the fourth one here, and we've been talking about business value being created for various industries. India is looked as the outsourcing hub for the world, and a lot of companies sitting here are often processing information being provided by companies based wherever in the world, right? So a lot of times the information exchange as well as authentication of the records coming in, that is a serious challenge. And I've seen floors and floors full of people just doing reconciliations and consolidations and spending days and hours just to get paid. So this is exciting. This is truly exciting. It's a new way of exchanging proofs. And as you say, why don't you go ahead and say your the punchline for not putting data on the blockchain?
Don't put data on the blockchain.
Here it comes.
Don't put data on the blockchain.
No,
what?
Yeah, data into databases.
Data for databases, hashes or proofs for blockchains. That's right. Yeah, the other day I had somebody call me and they said we love the baseline protocol, we love it, but we're so scared of putting data on the but you seem to use a lot of Ethereum in this, which is not, I mean, the standard doesn't require Ethereum. Most of the implementations are using Ethereum because many of us think it's the best place to put proofs, or at least to anchor them, right? We can put it on something like Base Ledger, which is coming out soon. And then that's anchored to the mainnet, to the public blockchain. You want a supremely tamper-resistant finality layer that makes sure that those proofs don't get changed by anybody. But it drove me crazy because they're like, but we're afraid of putting data on the blockchain. I'm like, what if you not been listening? You don't put data on the blockchain. Not corporate data. I mean, there's, you could say that a hash is a piece of data too, but you're not putting, personal PII or any kind of corporate, almost any kind of information your company has is probably information you don't want your competitors to have. I mean, blockchains, whether they're private or public, are effectively digital nudist colonies, right? They like to spread things out. If you're a private blockchain and it's a proper blockchain, then somebody has a node who is not under your control, who's not under your security policies. You have a big threat surface. That guy's going to get hacked and make irrelevant all the reasons why you made a private blockchain. You might have just gone with a SaaS data solution, or something like Snowflake or what have you, right? But instead, you said, oh, let's spend a lot more money on a private blockchain, which is really just saying, let's use a shared database that has nodes that are run by different companies. I don't know that you want that. I think you might just want to set up a JV with a really good system administrator and run it in common. And if you're really worried about control, Shamir secret sharing the keys will do you just fine, right? Give out shares to each of your administrators and say a plurality of those administrators have to turn their key to change anything about the system. And now you all have control without being in control, or without somebody being in control of it. And that eliminates the hegemony problem without using blockchain.
And to expand on that point, John, it's been one of the goals of organizations, in this kind of, as we see this new transformation ongoing from a digital perspective, we see the goal of many organizations to effectively centralize their data. We have a lot of these times, these data sources are disparate, and just from an organizational strategy perspective, they're still at the current adoption stage of still trying to modernize their data environment and centralization of that data within their cloud environment. And so what we're able to enable is exactly that, still utilizing the baseline protocol. They're still able to achieve that goal, which is finding that single source of truth from a data perspective and data modeling perspective internal to their organization, and then being able to layer that synchronization with their counterparties or in these complex workflows on top of that, which is really something that unlocks something quite different than what had been achieved from an really kind of a blockchain implementation perspective in the past, as well as the way in which enterprises were trying to leverage blockchain systems to support their ecosystems.
Yeah, I have a question, John, for you.
Hey, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, there's big lag. We're going around the planet with the signal, but
yeah. So you were mentioning Base Ledger. Can you provide sort of indicate what the goals and scope of Base Ledger is with
Well, I can talk about what I think it's going to do for me as a customer. I think Jack and his team are actually building that. And before I get onto that, we also, I see that Bishwashri Day is here, and talk about things you can baseline. You can Bishwashri figured out how to baseline an Excel spreadsheet with an ERP system, which, by the way, makes her like the best programmer I know right now. That's cool. Man, I wish.
Me too.
Yeah, speaking of that, Bishwashri, if you're with us there, would you want to expand a little bit on that? Some of the work from an Excel perspective, some of the work that's has gone there, and kind of where you hope and envision us taking this?
Yeah. Hi guys, everyone. This is Sashri. I'm currently working on an Excel add-in for the baseline protocol. So what it basically does is that you can open up your Excel and you'll see a small window on your right side of your screen. And basically using that, you log in and whatever data changes you make on your Excel with your counterparties, it will get synced automatically. So that's the main functionality that we are providing. If I go into like the technical details of it, the add-in is able to like capture any changes you make on the Excel, send it. I think somebody's YouTube is on.
Yeah, somebody's got the YouTube on.
Sure.
Maybe Jack.
Yeah, it was me. I was just checking volume.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it will capture any changes you make on your Excel, send it to your counterparty. Your counterparty makes any changes, you will get those changes synced automatically. So that's the main work that is being going on. I'm currently working on like creating some mapping so that your columns and your data is very accurately mapped with your counterparty. So that is like I'm making some tweaks, and so that is the current status of the project.
I think it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, everybody knows, right? It's a little poorly kept secret that the still today, this day, the primary data system of record for even the largest companies is often an Excel spreadsheet. So being able to maintain consistency between a row or a table of Excel. And Biswashri, are you going to be able to baseline a row in the next iteration? Just so I can have like one row being, say, my invoice record and baseline that to my customer?
Yes, that is what I'm trying to like push forward for. Currently, it's the entire table that we are baselining, but with the future iterations, that is like even just one cell, if you want to baseline, we should be able to do just that. Like any object that is there on the Excel, we should be able to do
huge.
That.
I mean, really, that is bigger than people realize.
Yeah.
I mean, like we say, boring is the new exciting.
Sounds like a dream. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, okay, so I can keep my cell consistent with somebody else's system, and you're like, oh, that's boring, but it's not. It's like major.
I think that
I think in the first. Go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to say, I think the Excel piece just unlocks a heck of a lot of use cases. Not only does it unlock the ability for the smaller participants to have access to this new way of participating in these ecosystems and new ways to find new financial incentives as part of these enterprise ecosystems, but also it unlocks a lot of these different use cases that are really exciting as well. You know, I envision Excel playing a huge part into like things like autonomous procurement operations and autonomous financial modeling, if you will, as well. And so we're just at the forefront of kind of where we're going to start seeing these use cases pick up from an Excel perspective, but many of which that we've talked about from a baselining perspective more generally, I think can start almost be immediately applied from an Excel perspective. So we really do welcome people that, have been starting to build within these blockchain systems and are strongly leveraging Excel currently. We have a solution in place right now of which we can start working to innovate that and kind of start baselining from there. I think sometimes people, they hear that we're working on it and there's kind of almost this idea. It's like, this is things that we can start pursuing and working with stakeholders and potential customers right now on. And so we certainly welcome these type of different ideas. And we've kind of started to see different ones start permeating from an Excel perspective. And again, I'm just excited as to where this really goes from here.
I think in the first episode, we'd spoken about appealing to the CIOs and the CISOs with the baseline protocol. I think with counterparty risk at a minimum, we would have actually appealed to the chief risk officers as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Having a
So I think that's
having a
huge
mature stack, having a mature stack that is GDPR compliant has the ability to effectively accomplish KYC and AML processes within that as well. I think is just going to be essential to the adoption and comfort with, the executive leadership as we continue forward, as well as within like the actual, in the financials of the organizations.
Absolutely. I think the third week of this month, third week of August, we are also going to have a dedicated show just for compliance. What does baseline mean for GDPR? I think that is something which is key, and we are going to pick that up. A lot of companies in India are required to be GDPR compliant as well, even if they are processing data. They are also required to at times process healthcare information as well. So we're going to be talking about high trust. We're going to be talking about GDPR, and I'm trying to get Andreas for that. And yeah, I mean, rest of the baseline members, I think they're pretty senior people who've seen compliances very closely. I myself have been an auditor for a very long time, so I totally get if the audit landscape were to change, where would it head? So that would be a fantastic place to look at.
It's not for nothing. It should be known that Ernst & Young, which was one of the three founding companies behind Baseline Protocol. We always saw this as audit tech, right? This would make audit. If I can have an auditing, if I'm auditing a company or a set of companies, and all I need to know is that this set of proofs proves that that they followed a certain set of rules that were enforced by zero knowledge circuits, then I can spend a lot less time doing sampling, right? I don't have to sample. I can know that every single one was done correctly, and
absolutely,
I think it's a big deal. Shuya was asked.
One of my seniors is actually watching the show right now. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, one of my seniors is watching the show right now. I was discussing the exact same concept with him, that companies are going to get rid of auditors, especially for some compliances which people are required to have, especially in outsourcing operations. And he was laughing at me, and I said, you know what, come to the show, that particular episode, and we're going to make it happen. At least we're going to reach to a point where the auditors would be, so the auditors are not going anywhere, but they will be using a system which is enabled by Baseline. And by doing that, you're doing away with a lot of things. Yeah.
And a key piece to that, Samrat, is the fact that we're doing these on public blockchains, and those public blockchains are something that has gained enough momentum and confidence. Of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be done on public blockchains, but the fact that public blockchains have gained this momentum and confidence from some of the largest institutions in the world at this point in time is changing the narrative and confidence that these enterprise leaders can have moving into these type of projects and implementations. And I really think that is a key piece to unlocking the shift that we're seeing ongoing right now. And, just as John had mentioned, seeing the EYs of the world come here and have the confidence to be providing, not only be core members within the Baseline Protocol community and innovating from that perspective, but then furthermore layering on the ability from an audit perspective, the assurability perspective, says really all the difference in where we're headed with this, of which I don't really think that they were in that position and willing to do that in the past with some of those private implementations that we had seen.
Absolutely. Now
Samrat, if I could,
deep dive.
I'm mindful that I did not answer Shuya's question about Base Ledger. So I should say, sure. But I just really was dying to talk about Excel. And I'm so jazzed about what Biswashri's done. That's like all I want to talk about. But yeah, the Base Ledger is, so you can put your proofs directly on a layer one like mainnet, like the Ethereum mainnet, and it's not that expensive because you can with a little bit of batching and it's not, it's not like it's the least costly thing you could do on a blockchain, right? You throw proof on it, or into a Merkle tree. But even so, it's nice if you can go to an L2 or a secondary substrate that is anchored to the main net, so that it's getting the tamper resistance from the main net, or a major public main net. Theoretically, you could have many of these. I kind of would love to see it not be many of these things. It's a pretty basic job, and and there are advantages if there's just one place where you can go to for proofs and do workflow integration, and say the proof of my work step number 33 is now I can use that to inject into your work step number 44 under zero knowledge, without as long as our two work steps are compatible and have appropriate schemas and all that. But even if we never knew each other when we were setting up these workflows, that's a really powerful thing. And you can do that across chains, but you have to add addressing and resolving and discoverability. And it's fine, you can do that, but it would be nice to have just kind of one place where most people go for that stuff. And because it's a standard, it's kind of taking a profit motive out of that thing anyway. So kind of like TCP/IP did. So hopefully we can have some unity and not a bunch of balkanization on workflow integration. That would be a really good result. But yeah, so Base Ledger is the first place where is about to be. Jack, it's not launched yet, right?
It's not officially launched at this point in time. That being said, as Kyle and the team has articulated a number of times before, what I think some folks think is that Base Ledger is just all of a sudden going to be turned on. Many of the core pieces that are part of the Base Ledger stack are inherent and embedded within the Provide stack. So many of those things that are core pieces of Base Ledger that are part of Provide are currently running. I was on late last night with Kyle. Kyle's flipping stuff on this weekend, of which is going to be lighting up more core pieces of the Base Ledger network. And so again, that doesn't necessarily mean that as he flicks that on this weekend, that we're full in production, but we are getting much closer to that with some of the core pieces of the Provide stack running and getting in preparation for a test net to be up and running through the month of August and into September, and having that ready to go and be tested on for the hackathon that we're having at ETH Atlanta, October 1st through October 3rd. So that's where it's headed towards. The testnet will be ready for ETH Atlanta for developers to be ready to hack on and develop on. And so that's really kind of the time frame that we have set for it.
Yeah, and so as a customer, or not a customer, but as a user of that, I mean, Bishwashri had to spend a lot of time and had to be a pretty good systems level developer to figure out how to use Baseline. After all this stuff goes open source and goes live, it should be something that anybody in a TCS or a Accenture or a Infosys or Wipro could just grab or just somebody like a smaller competitor to those guys could go and really sell pretty significant system, fairly straightforwardly, sell system integration between companies. So you could take a supply chain, grab one company in that supply chain, get them as your customer, and then start going up and down that supply chain and across, and just start gobbling up all of their customers and all of their suppliers. And before you know it, you could be really a supplier or a service provider to a fairly large network just by kind of growing fractally out from there.
Incredibly well said, John. Incredibly well said. And I think why that opportunity is so important is because it enables these organizations that start innovating in this capacity to remain as the ecosystem enablers of their respective ecosystems. And so some of the first movers that are going to be doing this are the ones that are going to really build out these strong partner networks. Of course, the networks that they already have inherent to their business, but the ability to add kind of this new layer of value to the ecosystems that they serve. And so
that's what you guys did with ServiceNow and CocaCola, right? You just started with one one company, and then it just kind of started growing.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So like from a ServiceNow perspective,
Talking about supply chains, talking about supply chains, that's what we should be talking about now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a lag
Samrat,
today.
I do
I'm so
think
sorry. I've been speaking over so many people.
that's okay. I think there's just a little lag. All good. Well, and supply chain undoubtedly, and supply chain touches so many different things, but at the same time, like just from a ServiceNow perspective, we're talking like incident management. That was the first workflow within the ServiceNow modules that we worked to baseline. And again, we've targeted incident management because it's their it's their most commonly remediated service request within the platform. And so we knew if we could target that and start working to baseline that, we'd really be able to open the floodgates. And so from there, now we can take that into a bunch of different things, like workflow management, incident management, problem management, resource management, service management, of course. Like there's so many different things just across the ServiceNow platform alone that we can work to start baselining, and that really kind of unlocks a lot of this strategy, because what we're so excited about from a ServiceNow perspective, or a lot of these different workflows that we're able to baseline, is tying the SLA to it. And once we're able to tie, anything that has an SLA tied to it, we can, effectively work to baseline and create the inherent value of baselining for that particular process and that workflow.
Awesome. I'm going to let you roll, Jack, with the supply chain stuff that you've been talking about, and let's start moving towards the Coca-Cola story. So what's the Coca-Cola story, and what have you guys been doing for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting very close to going in full production at Coke. This has been an ongoing initiative that we've had the support of Kona, Coke One North America for quite some time now. Coke One North America being encompassing the primary supply chain operations for Coke. And in that initial instance, what we're working to do is effectively baseline their procure to pay process. And the procure to pay process is one that's very common. Many know. For those that might not know, what that work step or workflow effectively encompasses are 5 work steps that we are working to baseline along that. And as we baseline along that workflow, we are keeping those systems amongst those various parties within that ecosystem in sync throughout that particular workflow. And for procure to pay, what that is the purchase order to a sales order to shipment notification, goods receipt to invoice. And so amongst that process, what we're doing is we're baselining each step of that process. And at the end of it, we're effectively taking that invoice and we're taking that proof, and that's what ultimately goes to the base ledger network and then effectively to the Ethereum mainnet to store the proof. So that's really where we're at from a Coca-Cola perspective. And I think there's been some insights around, there's been details around what we're actually projecting, as well as what we're currently doing for Coke. And at current state, we're looking to target to produce 650 million in enterprise DeFi liquidity, which is the output of the actual assets that we're tokenizing for these invoices, projecting over 100 million in operational savings with Coke, among a number of other different things. So.
That's gigantic. 100 million in savings. Yeah. Awesome.
And I think
there's always this question. Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to say that 100 million, that's something that Coke was willing to be comfortable with in projecting early on. I hope and anticipate that we're actually going to see larger savings than that as we continue to work these into larger ecosystems across Coke and across these other different customers that we're working with as well.
Yeah, it seems to me that there's
excellent.
Yeah, there's 2 stories on this. One is, hey, there's screw ups that happen between companies that can't be sure that their records are in a state of consistency, right? And you just be great, actually, Samrat, to get like in India. I do this over in the States. last year, just started asking people what goes wrong when your system is not consistent with your counterparty system. And there were all these great stories that came out. I bet there'd be interesting ones there as well. And, you know, what kinds of screw ups happen and how do you manage them? How do you deal with them today? Right. So that's one story, right? If I get in an elevator and say, hey, CEO, how much are you spending just hedging against the possibility that people are going to get that you're going to get screwed up with your partners or your customers or your suppliers, and they're going to say we spend a lot of money on it. Sometimes I've heard as much as up to 10% of profits go into that. Although your mileage will vary on that, but it can really cut into margin. Just hedging, just maintaining a contra account against legal fees that could come up, or maintaining a float that you're holding in case something goes wrong or a make good happens. Say you're supplying a retailer, and that retailer, and I used to work for Best Buy, and I've got a good friend who was the head of merch there, and he'll tell you, they would call up a vendor and say, where's my shipment? And the vendor would say, well, it's my records say that it's supposed to be there 2 weeks from now. And they would say, well, I think it's today, and I don't care what your records say, and you're going to spend whatever you have to get it here by tomorrow, or you don't have to do business with us. Right. And that could be millions of dollars to expedite an order. Right. That kind of thing. Those just horrible things that happen when consistency goes awry between companies. And that's what baseline is all about. It's not about blockchain. It's about the fact that we now have a name for fixing that problem in the future. And this is the opportunity, I think, for early adopters like the folks on the call to say, hey, right now, it's good to profit on taking advantage of somebody else's stupid, right? So right now, people are stupid about being afraid of public blockchain as this kind of function, because they don't understand. They've been sold this bill of goods that blockchains are databases, and they're like, I don't want to put my data on a public thing like that. Are you crazy? And the answer is, you're right. Don't do that. But it's a pretty good piece of middleware, and you just didn't realize that. So as the few people that understand that right now can really draft past the knuckleheads that don't understand this yet, and get real profitability on this, and say, okay, and now we have this word for it. We say, yeah, you better baseline your system to get rid of those kinds of problems. So that's one interesting way of discussing the problem. The other one is, hey, if I know that your invoices are baselined, then they're probably more likely to get paid. So I will buy them from you for a lot less money than a typical factor would, or a typical invoice finance, or even letters of credit, right? So now that CEO is interested, right? The previous conversation will get you a meeting with the CIO, right? But the CEO wants a lower cost of capital. So this is where the rubber hits the road for a lot of executives is, oh, I don't understand baselining and I don't understand system integration, but I understand lower cost of capital.
Absolutely. No, I think there's one more good word for adoption like this, which is called early mover advantage. So people have to understand the real value which this is bringing in, and the business owners on one board now are going to be the leaders, industry first and world first, doing this stuff. That is pretty amazing. And Jack,
I see Shunya was trying to ask a question.
So what is this? Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, hey, this when I listening to this, coming from an enterprise integration background, what Jack mentioned in terms of service level agreements, being able to enforce service level agreements is, to me, it's a big positioning, right? I mean, it's like, it's not about integration. It's not about any of the technical aspects of trying to make systems talk to each other, et cetera, et cetera. The problem that you're trying to solve is that we can enforce whatever service level agreements you have. And at the end of the day, the purpose of integration really is to make sure that everybody has is maintaining a contract, right? I mean, is able to service a contract. And I think that's I'm always trying to understand where is the differentiation between classical integration and baseline, and that's that. And the problem I have is coming from publish and subscribe world, traditional enterprise integration, seeing a gazillion adapters for SAP or even Excel, Oracle, and I've worked on all of these things, and it's always from a technical up, right? Okay, you don't have information silos, you're putting everything on the bus, everybody's access to information, etc. But now you have access to everything, but what is the problem you're solving, right? And so what I'm looking at, when I look at baseline, I'm looking at the backwards. I'm saying, what is the problem you're solving? And then how does it differentiate itself from classical integration? So I'm always kind of looking at that and trying to say, make sense of it in my own mind. And, John and Jack are helping a lot, and all of it, collectively, everybody here is helping get me the understanding. The question I have specifically is to Jack. Jack, from the standpoint of penetration, how limited is baseline in terms of the number of adapters you have to different systems? For example, you talked about SAP Dynamics, you talk about now Debashree's Excel, but in terms of just integration with various products, you talk with ServiceNow. Integration, is that a limiting factor? Is that a thing that you need to have more of to get baseline more pervasive?
Yeah,
that's it. That certainly.
Yeah, it's early days, right? It's a real opportunity for people to build connectors and make some money on those.
That absolutely well said, John, on that. And to expand on that, Mohan, what I'd say is, at ETH Atlanta, we're going to have a session of baselining systems of record. And in that, we're including SAP, Salesforce, Microsoft Excel, Dynamics 365, and Azure.
SQL Server too,
now,
right?
Like we like to call it, or ServiceNow, and Splunk. That covers 5-6 of the larger technology players that a lot of these organizations are running on. And so there are
absolutely, I think you covered 80% market share.
Well, there's tons more, right? And it'll be great to see like a connector in MuleSoft, and I'm looking forward to that. It all needs to, but really I suspect that October is going to be a big sea change, and that when the V1, just like with Hyperledger, when we hit V1, everybody started using it. V.6 was a toy. Right now, you have to be kind of a pretty good systems integrator or systems level developer to get into the baseline pattern. It's not like you just install npm and go. It's not a product, right? It's a design pattern. Which the upside of that is any competent group could implement baselining today in production without anybody else. They could just do it because it's just a design pattern. You just have to understand the pattern and use it. But tools like what Provide's coming up with, and things like Baseledger, where you just don't have to think about it. You just you zip-zag, install npm, bing bing bing, you're done. That's going to massively push adoption forward. So I think the end of the year when we push out V1, when the standard goes to ISO, and when when these tools are out in open source, but also in verified downloadables that have been audited, I think we'll see a lot of acceleration.
And
so I've got two questions. Is that okay right now? Or do we want to pass it on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Again, this is a question to. So this, you had talked earlier about, so if you take Excel, and so you have a row gets updated, so maybe a pricing, catalog, the product catalog, the pricing gets changed, and you want to synchronize to a source and a sink. But that's one part. But I would imagine that if there was a contract, if there was a agreement based on the original price,
Yes.
that the change in price is not is going to trigger a consequence, I would imagine, right? It's not like, okay, if I agree to buy something at a certain price, and I expect a certain number inventory level, but you change that with the price or the inventory level, and therefore you're not my original agreement may be at risk. That the latter so it's not just a synchronization issue, right? Synchronization is one thing, but the ability for me to make sure that now that the prices have changed, it's in violation of my original agreement. So what I wanted to understand there is the SLA, if you will, the violation of the original contract, the key part of baseline, or is it the ability to synchronize?
It's oh, go ahead, Jack. Go ahead.
What I would say is I think it's both. But I think undoubtedly the biggest underlying value here is the synchronization. Never before had there been done the synchronization of ERP and CRM systems in the way in which we are able to do them now. That had simply never been solved for in this way. And the way in which that we are doing this is an effective way of which to enable that synchronization. And I think at the outset of that process is the ability to provide that assurability that that verify. These are what we're producing are just much more high fidelity outputs, much more high fidelity assets. And as a result of that, there's the assurability in that, and the ability to reduce the claims disputes. That is the overwhelming kind of value that we continue to hear from these different customers that we're working, is the ability for them to reduce their claims disputes.
But Jack, I don't want to contradict you, but I will say that to enhance that point, and I remember this is something that Stefan and Martin over at Unibright, which is a big system integrator with SAP, very, very strongly aligned with SAP traditionally. That they see right now in particular that baselining is you can set up your circuits for changing, right? So it is state changing. You can, and I think Jack, one of your colleagues, has, likes to talk about how you can entangle work steps to work steps by putting the output proof from one work step into the input proof or input circuit of the next proof, and thereby enforce under zero knowledge integrity, right? So you can say, well, I have a purchase order that's based on a master service agreement, and that master service agreement requires this price, for example, and if I don't adhere to that price, then I won't be able to generate my new proof. And as long as everybody says don't go to the next step without getting a proof, then you're good, right? You'll know that you have to stop the line and figure out the problem. But you can also you can have another part of that original MSA circuit say this is how we handle changes, where you can change the price. And this is what the Unibright guys find it much more interesting right now today is managing state changes of a single record during its life cycle. So I'm going to change the price from A to B, or I'm going to add a discount to this product, for example, or I'm going to change an attribute to the product. So Mohan, it's Mohan.
It's a combination of tech and business logic.
Oh, yeah. That's a great clarification. That was really helpful, because the state change, adding something favorable, and then versus having a agreement based on a master contract, the two angles to this problem, right? And they're equally important. And I think that clarification is important. Where I was going with this is the following, right? We're talking about adapters. There's a company called Workato, which is basically is a huge partner, has got huge investments from both Workaday as well as Salesforce.com, right? And TIBCO, which is a historical company, publish and subscribe integration, which I think might have been acquired by Salesforce or SAP, I forget who, I used to work there about 20 years ago. But neither of these guys have tons and tons of adapters to various systems, right? And they have so many customers, just like ServiceNow does. If baseline is not necessarily competitive in terms of, then you are a partner and you could leverage the install base of these guys, right?
Well, it's more like, think of it this way, Mohan. It's and I apologize for some reason your title card is not giving the name we know you by. But Tibco, I remember Timco very well when I was at IBM, and
yeah, we used to compete all the time.
Oh yeah, dude, totally. And we as over the last 35 years I've been in business, we adopt different techniques, different standards. We go from pushing token ring to going to Ethernet and SAML and XML to JSON, right? That's the way to think about baselining, right? That's why I usually say baselining as a verb or a gerund rather than baseline, because baseline sounds like a product and a company and a brand, and it's not. It's just the word we're using as a term of art to say, you need to baseline your systems with your counterparties, and here's how you do it now, and it's standard. So it's just a new standard, kind of like JSON is kind of a de facto standard. So for a lot of people, so it's really about adopting the technique, and then to make it easy, you can hire companies like Provide, and presumably people listening to this call will say, hey, I can make a lot of money doing this. In fact, Samrat, I imagine that Jack, you guys are like, if I was an Indian firm that wanted to resell Provide or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that something?
The magic stack right now, the golden stack for baseline.
The golden stack. Yeah. I mean, is that something that like,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, we have the ability to support that at current state. Any of these Indian firms. That being said, I think as we roll into Q3 and Q4 of this year, our pricing strategy, the way in which this is all rolled out, will be far more clear for folks and for enterprises. But that being said, awesome. The strategy is very clear at this point in time, but I think that we'll do even a more effective job at articulating that, on our site and in other places. But we have the ability to do that at current state right now.
So Samrat, maybe you can keep an eye on that and keep folks informed, and they can go to you to find out more as new developments could occur.
Absolutely. So if you're a technology company based in India and you want to make it big in baseline protocol, you know who to contact. Hook me up, hit me up on LinkedIn, and we'll have a chat. Cool. I think today went pretty well. And thanks, Mohan, for bringing in those really interesting questions. I think all of these really bring out the real value, and the rest of us just learn more and more about baseline.
This is really exciting times, I have to say. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how what we're doing at Shunya, which still is a lot of definition required, and which is what we're working on. And I've talked to Kyle a lot, and Jack as well. So we're looking to see how we can use it. But Jack, I just wanted to throw out something. The founder of Workato is one of my colleagues from Tibco, and so if an introduction potentially is useful, let me know. I can set it up.
That would be greatly appreciated, Mohan.
That'd
be sincerely appreciated. And furthermore, Mohan, let's baseline the local municipality that we were talking about, right?
Yeah, that may be a bit of ways we're building the social network of households so that they can learn and start manifesting a zero waste lifestyle. So from there, we have to go to the other corporates and so on. So it may be a bit off. I'm actually have to respond to you guys about our status so that it doesn't look like we just disconnected. So apologize for that.
Hey, as I need to dispatch my duty as the TSC chair and say, if Workato wants to be a sponsor of the Baseline Protocol Oasis Foundation, then they should definitely do that. In fact, anybody listening to this that wants, the companies, you don't have to be a sponsor or pay any money to be part of the Baseline Protocol community, to contribute code, to be part of the standards team. You can just step up, just like Bishwashri did, just like Samrat did. But you can also, just like a lot of companies like Accenture and others, you can sponsor, and that helps keep the lights running with the standards organization. So
and helps their
Workato would be a great addition to that. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah, and helps their business innovate in arguably one of the most important ways to be innovating right now.
Absolutely. Well, that's I think so far this has been the most exciting show that I have had. So thank you so much, guys, for bringing in those perspectives. Very briefly, I'll invite Louise. Louise, are you up for it? You're at an airport. I can see that. Are you up for it? Can I invite you to talk about the grants?
Oh yes, I can. Can you hear me? I'm in the airport. I don't know if the connection is good. Okay, so like 2 months ago, I've been working together with a guy from JP Morgan, who is very interested in Baseline. His name is Boris. He's usually attend the Baseline show on Wednesday, and he asked me to help him during a grant to write zero proof of knowledge circuits for bonds. And it was a great opportunity to learn with a real example, the zero proof of knowledge, and to learn more about the financial system for me, because I'm more technical, and Boris he has more financial knowledge, and it was great. It was he took part of how to prepare, writing the text to prepare for the grant, and prepared and organized the work that we had to do, but it was good. And the people from the Baseline Slack channel that he's responsible for the grants helped us when we had some doubts regarding the grant, and it was very, I don't say easy, but it was very smooth process to work with this grant.
I'm happy to report, by the way, Luis, that we just approved the funding of that grant and that it's been distributed. So somebody got paid. I will also say that we now have been fully subscribed. All the money from that $100,000 grant from the Ethereum Foundation has been distributed. So the only way to win any more of it is to participate in the ETH Atlanta Hackathon on October 1, 2, and 3. So if you want some of that grant money, we've allocated some of it to that hackathon. Otherwise, I think Vishwashri's received some of the funding, and Luis, your team has received funding. There's another big couple of grants out there, several. So we've allocated all the grants at this point. There's no more money in that pot. And we're now talking to more companies about adding more money to grant pot, to the funding of grants. So if anybody wants to do grants, let us know. But that funding source is now depleted.
Excellent, which is good. That means we're going strong. We're going big. That brings us to our second announcement, which was about ETH Atlanta. So Jack, you want to quickly talk about ETH Atlanta and how people from India can participate? I know there may be travel restrictions, but let's make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward. Let's make it happen. We're looking forward to October 1st through October 3rd. It's going to be a executive summit and an enterprise Ethereum hackathon. We're really looking forward to it. The agenda has already started to come together very, very nicely, of which I think we will be releasing and dropping late next week. We have a number of keynotes already set up for Friday, including John, a number of leaders within the baseline protocol community and within the ecosystem overall. We'll have Stefan and Martin from Unibright there, Andre from Kona, expecting Splunk to be there, Microsoft, EY, a number of the large players within kind of the ecosystem will be there. And so Friday will encompass, we'll have the kickoff of the hackathon, and we'll have a number of different tracks set for Friday. And then we'll roll into a happy hour and a nice catered dinner into keynotes into Friday evening. And then Saturday, what will happen is we'll have a set of tracks around baseline systems of record. And again, that'll be around like SAP, Salesforce, Microsoft, ServiceNow, and Splunk. And then into a number of different panels Saturday evening, including like finance, DeFi, L2, community. We're gonna have creators and like a media panel as well. And we're really starting to see a lot of good just people kind of get involved, kind of come out of the woodworks to seek to be involved. And so we certainly love that and welcome other folks to try to get involved. And yeah, there's going to be a bunch of things that we didn't really mention, you know, like food trucks. We're going to have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. We're going to have a DJ that we haven't released, all set up. We're going to have a creator space. We're going to call it a creator space similar to that of ETH Denver for many of like the creator economy folks within the space. We want to create a space to welcome those as well. And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pieces of this that we haven't really unveiled yet, but it's going to be a great event. And, you know, just to make a quick mention with everything happening from like a COVID perspective, for one, I know that, of course, we wish that the travel restrictions were lifted. We want, you know, of course, we're seeing an uptick in COVID, so everyone's got to be thoughtful about traveling, the ability to be there. We are very focused on making ETH Atlanta a safe environment. We're going above and beyond to ensure that like the ventilation systems create like a safe environment for those that are participating in the community itself. And so those are things that we are, you know, ensuring to be very focused on as we hold this event. And yeah, we welcome folks to get involved. And certainly folks from India, we're going to have a high production recording of all the content, and any folks within Indian organizations that want to get more involved with the baselining, we're more than welcome and excited to have conversations in between now and ETH Atlanta to talk about how they could get more involved or be building within the hackathon. We certainly welcome that.
Awesome, Jack. Thank you so much. This is very, very exciting. I think you'll be helping people recover from all the lockdown stress that they've been having, you know, while baselining. So thank you so much. So you know, we've made some really huge announcements on today's show, especially from the India show perspective. I think this is going to be the best. You know, with that, I think we come to a closure. We've already gone beyond the allocated time, but I still see all the viewers on YouTube have been there. Everybody on Zoom call also have been there. So thank you, all of you. And, you know, especially Saurabh and Biswashi, now it's the onus is on you. You know, you take back the ETH Atlanta announcement and go back to the dev community. You guys are deeply embedded into the dev community. So I totally put this on you now to amplify within the dev community here back in India. With that, I come to something which is fun. You know, now we are at the end of the show. I have a new tune which I would like to play and seek people's comments on. So, John, you've already heard that, right? We've already given a preview of that tune to people who tuned in on last Wednesday's baseline show on YouTube. So now I'm going to play it right here, and then let's hear from people. What do they think about this new tune which I'm going to be playing on this show? Okay, so here it goes. You have it. John, am I audible?
No, I can't hear it.
Am I audible?
I can't hear it.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you, Samrat.
Nope.
Okay, here it goes.
Here.
Oh, are you trying to play from your computer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna have to. I'll show you how to do that at some point.
You might just want to use a cell phone.
Can you hear me? Can you? But can you hear me?
Yeah, you need a mix. There's a reason why that won't work. Sorry, brother.
But you have the file too, right?
Are you talking about that techno song? Oh, I was trying to find I'm trying to find the.
It's the same tune. It's the same tune which I sent you, John. So if you can also play it if you can.
Oh, I don't have that one. The one that the one that you.
It's on Slack.
Oh, well, let's do it
Send
next
on
time.
Slack, yeah. Yeah, maybe let's do that next time.
When we were starting the show in the States,
or
a year and a half ago, we had plenty.
Or we can do
all
it.
sorts of
maybe
technical
we can
failures.
do it now. Maybe.
Yeah.
Hang on. Can you hear this one?
Nope.
No.
No.
Ooh, bummer.
Oh.
Anyway, so that's exciting. Okay. So we end with a bummer, but no problem. I think this was a cool show.
Yeah, this is a great show.
We'll fix it. We'll fix it next time. This was a great show, highly valuable. We may have a potential new sponsor for the baseline protocol. Nothing bigger than that. And there were some cool new announcements. I will play the music next time onwards, and people are going to love it. I'm sure. Thanks all of you for making it. That's me signing off. See you next Saturday. Keep baselining. Yeah.
Bye, guys.